Zakk, just play with your heart. Change your pants. Something smells in here.
My high school band was named Hexen.
Oh, nice.
So when you were in Stonehenge and Xyrus, I was in Hexen.
Nice. We could have toured together back then. Oh my God. And that's why we're meeting today.
Yes.
Because we're going to put those bands back together.
There you go.
And do the tour that never was.
Well, thank you for being here. This is my big talk show.
Thanks for having me, Father Bill.
I'm so excited to talk guitar with you. I'm a total nerd.
Well, I had to come down to the ultimate podcast over here.
I'm going to, for full disclaimer, you did bring this Ultimate Warrior today, which is pretty
Just
cool.
so you could have so we'd have the ultimate podcast
But,
today.
you know, legal disclaimer, if I get sued over this, I'm sending them to you. I'm sending them to BLS LLC, or, right?
No. Well, it'll be the ultimate.
What's your LLC called? It's got to be good.
The ultimate lawsuit.
Yeah, the ultimate lawsuit. You got to have a good LLC name somewhere.
Yeah,
right?
whatever. We'll figure something out.
So doing a little research on you, you're actually older than me, but not by much, only a couple months.
As my dad would always say to me, you're gaining.
Okay,
you know,
well.
whenever I turn another year, he goes, you're gaining on me, son.
We're born the same year, 67.
67.
And so it explained something to me, because I've been a fan of you ever since you showed up with Ozzy, and I was like, who's this guy, right? But I always felt like I understood your playing, and I think we grew up in the same stew of influences. Yeah. Even though I took it one way, I totally get the way you play guitar, and I love the way you play guitar.
I appreciate it, man. Right back at you, brother.
Thank you.
But
what's so cool is I feel like I really get it. I don't know if that makes sense. You know, I'm not saying like I just like the way you play. Like I feel like I understand why you choose certain notes, why you play certain things.
Well, no, even when you know, we were talking about like when you did the the interview. Remember what you did with Eddie Van Halen?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you were talking about like how you loved, when we were talking about Fair Warning and stuff like that, because it was the darkest record and everything like that, which it was, you know what I mean? But, I mean, they're all great, but I mean, Fair Warning had its own identity as well. It's a lot darker than the other ones. Yeah, totally. But, no, yeah, because we all grew up on, like you said, Eddie and Randy, Matthias Jabs and all that was the new breed coming in. Yeah. George Lynch,
Well, who are some of those 70s guys that like you and I would know?
Obviously, I mean, for me it's whoever your favorite, if you're a Black Sabbath fan, then it's Tony Iommi's your guy. So for me it was Tony Iommi, obviously, and then being Jimmy Page,
Right. But do you like guys like Ronnie Montrose and
I found out, obviously you find out about a lot of the guys later on. My guitar teacher at the time when I first started was this guy named Leroy Wright, and Leroy was like 10 years older than me, but he was a huge Hendrix guy, and he was the one that turned me on to Frank Marino and Robin Trower and and everything like that, which I would have, at the time I didn't know, you know of Jimi Hendrix or whatever, but then hearing Frank Marino and Robin Trower and everything like that, but then but, obviously, the more you're learning guitar, you're learning from your favorite guys, which would be Sabbath was my favorite band. So, trying to learn every Black Sabbath song. But then, the more you're learning, then you're finding about this guy's great, this guy's awesome. Ronnie Montrose or any of the guys, Alvin Lee, you know what I mean, Albert Lee, and then your whole, your horizon opens up. Like even with St. Rose with Randy. Yeah. I remember. Then finding out that Mick Ronson was his guy. Randy was like, Mick Ronson's my guy. And then I remember seeing, us being younger, we're going, oh, you got a Randy Rhoads haircut. And it's like, no, that's a Mick Ronson haircut. No, I'm just saying, so it all goes, so for a kid when I'm coming in, it's like, oh, Zakk Wylde, it's just like, well, Randy's his guy. So it's like, but Randy's guy is Mick Ronson, so.
I know you're a rocker, but your phone's on.
Oh, is it going?
It's dinging. Oh, it's dinging.
Is it making noise?
This is an official podcast.
Okay.
You can't have any dinging.
Okay, we got to keep it pro.
Got to keep it pro, yeah.
But no, but I just always thought it was like, it's so awesome how you just see the correlation between everything, and you do research on the history. We're talking about either wrestlers or bands. And this and that, your favorite bands, and you go, oh, you really like them? Well, you got to hear so-and-so, because they got a lot of stuff from them, you know what I mean? And it's like, and then you listen, and you're like, oh, wow, I never knew about that, you know what I mean? So,
I
which
thought
is
it,
always awesome.
I thought what I really loved about your playing, and I guess I would have heard you sort of 88, 89
Yeah,
when you burst
Miracle
on.
Man and all that
Yeah,
stuff.
it was like, wow, this guy has a kind of a 70s foundation, but he's playing different. Does it make sense to you the way I'm putting it?
Well, without a doubt, as far as like Frank Marino being like one of my favorite guys, and
Yeah.
obviously Randy and
But usually when guys would play with those influences, they would just kind of sound like those guys. Somehow you sounded like you. You know what I'm
but
saying? I could feel where you were coming from, but it felt like, wow, this guy's got a totally different take on it.
well, but you know what was so funny coming when I first started playing with Oz, right? You know, here I am 19, 20 years old, and it's just like, well, how am I going to be Zakk Wylde? You know, like how am I supposed to be me? Like what's going to be my sound or whatever? And then I'm just thinking to myself, I go, well, if you don't want to sound like Yngwie, you know, because Yngwie was, forget about it.
Oh yeah, forget it.
I mean, as far as I'm
Did you see
concerned.
Yngwie like that when you first came to America? Did you see any of those tours?
Put it this way, I remember when I first heard Steeler,
Yeah.
it was lights out because I was like so into
Me too. I had that album. I was like, oh my God,
Yeah,
what am I
no,
doing?
it was to another level. I mean, I'm just saying, like, you know, yeah, how, like Jimi Hendrix, obviously it was the, you know, massive meteor, and then you had, you know, then obviously King Edward was the second coming. You know, I mean, I'm just saying as far as like game-changing
Yeah.
meteor that just hit the planet, and then I think the last one was Yngwie. I mean, as much as you know, we love, you know, with St. Rhoads, you know, you had Eddie and Randy and everything like that, you know, so it was like, but like, forget about when Yngwie, because when Ed came out, that just changed everything where everyone
Sure.
was tapping, the harmonics, and not only that, that ushered in the new breed and a new era. So I mean,
the new gunslinger.
Yeah, with Randy with the pointy guitars, the stripes on the guitars, the polka dots on the guitars, the paint jobs on the guitars. None of the you know, between Beck, Clapton, Page, the big three, and then Tony Iommi, and then Ritchie Blackmore, and all the guys that they got it from. None of the guys had like painted guitars or anything like that. You either played a Strat or a Les Paul.
Sure.
Or, you know, you had a cool looking guitar or whatever. But Eddie and the guys were the ones, the late 70s, 80s guys were the ones that brought in the different shaped guitars, and not everyone was playing a Les Paul or a Strat. So it was like, what is a Jackson? I mean, you know, I remember, you know,
Yeah,
so
right.
people were like, what is it? I have never even heard of that. Or, you know,
Or a
Eddie,
Charvel.
and Eddie, Eddie would just have like parts of guitars together. Like nobody even knew what he was
Or
playing.
even thought of doing that.
Yeah, because it wasn't a Fender. It was like, is that it looks like a Strat body, but what is it? You know, and then Eddie just tweaking all his guitars and everything. That was the new breed that was coming in. But no, I mean, for me, I was just like, well, if you don't want to sound like Yngwie, just get rid of harmonic minor and diminished. And it was like, all right, if you don't want to sound like Eddie, then get rid of the tapping and the harmonics and get rid of the whammy bar. And then it was just like, just crossing off all the lists. Like if you don't want to be compared to certain
I didn't
people,
know that about you, but
rid of
that's
that.
pretty cool. That makes a certain sense.
And then I was just like, well, what's left?
A lot of blues.
Yeah, I mean, everything was kind of, there's not much room left on the grocery list there. And I was just like, well, I guess just pentatonic scales, instead of 3 notes a scale, like Al Di Meola and Yngwie and everything, and what was massively popular at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just like, all right, well, then I'll just do pentatonic scales, but I'll pick them, you know, as opposed to just doing hammer-ons and pull-offs.
Sure, yeah.
So it was like, all right, so every time when I was going to write a solo, whether it's Miracle Man or Crazy Babies, and then everything that was
Even
on that record, Demon Alcohol, I mean,
No
everything
More
on
Tears.
No Rest for the Wicked, and then No More Tears was next, but I mean,
I see you're talking
No
about
Rest for the Wicked, that first album, it was just like, I'll just base everything off of pentatonics. Like you only have, like those cooking shows when they go, you only have X amount of cooking, you know, I give you a basket.
I didn't know that about you, but it makes total sense.
Yeah, because I was just like, well, what am I going to do? If you do harmonic minor or this and that, it doesn't matter how fast you play it.
Yeah.
It's going to go, oh, wow, he sounds like a fast Yngwie.
Yeah.
You know, or if you do taps even faster than Eddie Van Halen, it's just like.
But did you go see Yngwie like around 84 or any of those
I
times?
never saw Yngwie back then.
Oh
you know
my
what
God.
I mean? At that time.
I went when I was like 17.
Where'd you see him at?
Aragon Ballroom.
Oh, wow.
Talus was opening with Billy Sheehan on bass. And it was the Rising Force tour with Jeff Scott Soto singing in 84, 85.
Yeah.
And So I'm a young shredder, and it just blows my mind. You know what I mean? You
Well,
know
of
how he
course,
drunk off his ass, and he's laughing, and he's like
no, effortlessly.
effortless.
I mean, because what Yngwie always said, it's just like, it's not just speed, and it's not jive. I mean, he's speaking. No, I mean, it's musical.
Yeah, yeah, he's
I
very
mean,
musical.
everything he's playing, and his
Yeah.
feel, his vibrato,
He's
his
ridiculous.
timing,
He's
his
so
phrasing.
ridiculous. It's like it makes me laugh because he's just so. It's like
No, without
because
that.
I saw you play on the guitar tour you guys would do.
Oh, the
Vi
Generation
and
Axe thing,
Yngwie
yeah, with
and
the
Nuno.
fellas, yeah.
I was at one of those shows, Dallas or something. And
It-
there was that bit where Steve Vai and Yngwie were
they
kind of
were doing Black Star together,
back
yeah.
and forth, and Yngwie, I found it online. There's a clip of it. Yngwie did some run, like low to
Yeah,
high.
totally.
It was so insane that Steve Vai literally went.
What Steve would do like every day. He'd be,
Oh,
like,
okay, well,
cracking
it
up
worked
and
for
stuff.
me because I was like, no, but I had to go find the lick because I thought maybe it was in my mind that it was that good, and it was that good.
No,
It was like
without
a
doubt.
swimmer nailing a dive or something. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
without a doubt. I mean, Yngwie's that
Yeah.
insanely good. But I mean, but talking about like even with the Generation Axe thing,
Yeah.
Because the older you get, you don't realize. I remember seeing like, remember with the Les Paul tribute. I remember Eddie Van Halen was playing on there, David Gilmour was on there, and all this stuff, and it was just, I mean, then you start to realize like what's David Gilmour going to do after Eddie gets done shredding up there sitting in with the band. It's like all David Gilmour has to do is be David Gilmour.
Yeah, that's it.
No, because Dave's going to go up. Well, it's like I'm not going to try and sit up there and try and play as fast as Eddie. That's
Yeah.
not my thing.
Yeah.
No, because I mean, I'm just saying, like, we all love pizza. Just be whatever slice of pizza you are,
Yeah.
whether you're a margarita or if you're just a plain slice, or you're a mushroom slice, or you're a garlic slice, or you're a pepperoni, or a meat lover
Yeah.
slice. I'm just saying, just go with your strengths. So I'm just saying, like, when I'm up there with the Generation Axe thing, you have Yngwie, you have Stevie, you have Nuno, you have Tosin. When we walk in this, I could be at sound, I just walk in the building. 2 seconds in, whenever the guys pick up a guitar, like Nuno, I could tell it's him immediately. Like as soon as I hear his vibrato,
Yeah.
I hear Steve's vibrato, and they do one lick, and just the tone of their guitars, it's Steve. Yngwie picks up the guitar, and he doesn't have to do harmonic minor anything. He can play a pentatonic lick,
Yeah.
a blues lick like he's playing from Purple Haze or something, and it's immediately
Yeah.
Yngwie, and then Tosin just whips out just like 3 notes, and you just go. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
That you have your own voice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like Bob Dylan, it doesn't matter whether, Bob can sing as good as Michael Bolton. It doesn't, he has his own sound.
Yeah.
Just like with Smashing Pumpkins and your vocals.
Yeah.
I was just saying when the alternative thing was huge, between you, Kurt, Lane, Chris Cornell, like as soon as I hear like 2 notes of it, who's singing.
Yeah. It makes me proud when my kids, I'm like little kids, and my song comes on in the car, and they go, "That's Daddy."
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
well, I
they
remember
know,
Les
my
Paul,
voice. Yeah, it's cool.
Les Paul said that about Pat Martino one day. And Pat's
Yeah.
this legendary jazz player, and
Yeah.
then, but when Pat was young, when he was playing in some club, and when Les saw him playing, and he was just like, "Wow, that's amazing." Just technically what Pat could do and everything, and he just goes, "But can your mom tell it's you on the radio?"
Wow.
Like Les said that then,
Yeah.
all those years ago, but it really is the truth. It doesn't matter whether you have if you're the most technically amazing player, or it doesn't matter, vocally or guitar playing wise or drumming wise.
Yeah.
I mean, because when you hear Keith Moon and I hear John Bonham, it's 2 distinctly amazing guys, that have their own voice.
Yeah.
So, or Neil Peart. Those 3 guys
Yeah.
are completely different slices of pizza. Mind you, all amazing slices of pizza, but I mean, it just depends on what mood you're in.
Are you a New York pizza guy?
I know I do love pizza. Who doesn't? You know what I mean? Like,
Well, I'm a vegan now, so I can't eat Chicago pizza anymore. But.
oh, well, it depends on whether we just stick a bunch of broccoli in there for you or some salad, you know what I mean? Whatever, so you'll be fine. We'll just take the meat out of it, you know?
All right. I got to take you back to. I saw these names, and I got to ask. Stonehenge, and was it Xeris or Xyrus?
Oh, Stonehenge was before Xyrus.
Right.
But we
Okay, wait, stop.
literally,
Stop.
the name of the
Okay, wait,
band
stop.
was Stonehenge.
My high school band was named Hexen.
Oh, nice.
So when you were in Stonehenge and Xyrus, I was in Hexen.
Nice. We could have toured together back then. Oh my God. And that's why we're meeting today.
Yes.
Because we're going to put those bands back together.
There you go.
And do the tour that never was. But I remember Stonehenge, we had our manager at the time, our buddy Mike Kolowitz. I still talk to Mike all the time. We talk on a chat all the time. But Mikey was our manager, and I remember him with my mom. They made up a contract, for like, it was the best.
Like an appearance contract?
Yes, like
Okay.
we're going to be playing at Ketchum's Kitchen, in the kitchen, at our buddy's house. And it's just, I remember the contract was for like, to provide money. The $40 was going to provide money for the PA and to pay the band.
Right.
But I remember, and that's all that was on the contract, that, Kevin was going to pay, cover the $40.
Sure.
And I remember Mike, he had the contract and a hatchet in the briefcase. So this was pre-Peter Grant,
Okay,
reading, reading
Yes.
Peter Grant's autobiography
Yeah.
yet. But it was just, so Mike already knew then, you know what I mean? So he had the contract, maybe a ham sandwich, and then this hatchet. in the case. So just in case settlement didn't happen,
Wow.
we could settle this thing. But it was just in Jackson, New Jersey. This is how you handled disputes.
No one
back
messes
then.
with
Yeah,
Stonehenge.
the Brookwood Bar and Grill, where you could meet half your high school graduating class would be there. But I mean, but Mike, I remember brought the contract in one day, and we were going to play at Kevin's, and he goes, "Well, Kevin, you got the $40 to pay the band," and he was like, "Well, Mike, I was just thinking maybe, I'll toss a hat around. I only got $20. I'll just toss a hat around at the end of the night and pay you guys at the end." And he goes, "You ain't got the $40?" And he was like, "I only got 20 now." And he goes,
Is he going for the
he
hatchet?
just closes the briefcase. He goes, "Let's go. We're not doing the gig." And we all were walking out to Mike's car. Yeah, and we're going, "But we want to play the show," you know. And he's just like, "You'll never make any money with that attitude." And next thing you know, Kevin comes running out of the house. He's like, "I got the extra $20."
So
and it's just like, why'd you have to do that, man?
Yeah.
No, but like,
that's
that
rock and roll.
still goes on
that's rock
to
and roll.
this day.
Yes.
So, no, nothing.
Wrestling shoe, by the way.
Yes, I agree. So nothing has changed since like 1983 when we were doing these shows.
So Stonehenge, was it originals or covers or both?
We did all covers in that one. All covers. I mean, we were doing Bark at the Moon at that time. We may have been opening up with Bark at the Moon.
Wow.
At Kevin's Kitchen, and then I remember we played the Bobby Bush Demolition Fest, and I remember that was when
This is some New Jersey shit you're
oh,
showing
it was
out here.
awesome. Her parents sold the house. It was a bi-level house, right? Almost like the Brady Bunch kind of thing. And all I remember is like that movie Weird Science, where half the high school showed up on the front lawn. Well, it was because her parents went to the Poconos, and she was going to have this big blowout, and Stonehenge is going to play.
Stonehenge.
And we had the light show, and I remember Mr. Antion, Frank, his buddy, his dad was an electrician. We made our light show out of cans.
Bring back a lot of memories for me right here.
Totally. But we made it had the can, we had the light trees that, you get at Home Depot. We just built the things in electrical trades. And it was just coffee cans where you could screw the light bulbs in. We spray painted the light, whether it's a red one, a blue one, a yellow one, whatever. And we had it on the trees. And I remember Mr. Antion looks at it, he's like, "Boys, you're not using this thing, are you?" And we were like, "Well, what's the matter with it, Mr. Antion? We've been doing tons of shows with our little lighting rig, but you turn the thing on so it looks all pro." I remember it was just, he was like, "Are you kidding me? You're not using this thing." We were like, "What's the matter?" He's like, all these wires are live. Anyone touches the wires.
Oh my God.
So I'm just thinking, between the amount of booze floating around at these high school parties that we're playing at, live wires and everything like that. just the Animal House factor that going on
Yeah.
with these Stonehenge shows. But I remember when we did Bobby Bush's house, her parents were gone, torrential downpour that night.
Right.
And I remember everyone just parked up on the lawn, parked up out front of the house. People from Freehold, Lakewood, all outside communities coming into Jackson to go to this party. People I've never even seen before. And I remember we opened up with Bark at the Moon. And I remember is just, I mean, the house was packed. And I remember going up the stairway. People were just lined up on the stairs, getting hammered, smoking cigarettes, putting them out
Oh my God.
in the carpet of the house. And I'm just saying, now that you're a homeowner,
Yeah,
there's a whole different outlook and view.
Yeah.
Well, put it this way. This house, between the sliding closet doors, demolishing, I could make a comedy movie out of this whole thing, but it was just like something out of Weird Science at the end when the guys rolling in with
No
the
cops shutting
motorcycles,
it down, nothing.
demolishing the house completely. No cops even showed up at this thing, but it was, when we were loading out, Bill, me and you would have been looking at the floor going,
Yeah.
we got to get out of here now, man.
Yeah.
I mean, holes in the walls, and I remember somebody wrote on the wall, Stonehenge was here. I mean, it's like,
You killed.
wow.
You killed.
Yes, oh yeah. We killed Bobby's chances of ever having another party at
So
that
here's
house.
my same story back. High school party. They'd cover the entire first floor of the house in plastic trash bags in
Nice.
anticipation of the beer party to come.
Well, at least they were being cautious rockers.
Yes. I'm standing, because there's so many people in the room, I'm standing pressed against my Sun bass stack because I want more volume, so I'm playing through a bass amp.
Of course.
We're playing Stranglehold by Nugent.
Of course.
I'm literally in the opening part of the song, you know, the whole bit.
Totally.
Cops walk in. Cop walks to me and does one of these. I stop. He goes, "You guys got to quit." I go, "But look at all these people." He goes, "You want to go to jail?"
You go, well, jail isn't
I love
good
Nugent, but not that bad.
yeah, jail isn't.
So we didn't even make it through. Like, we didn't even get to the vocal.
Wow, it didn't even get that
No,
far.
that was it. Okay.
And then everyone proceeded to demolish the house.
I got out. I was so disappointed I got out. I never saw the rest of the party. You and me have a great love and respect for Sabbath, but like beyond Sabbath, can you just pick like one band that I might be surprised by that you were really influenced by?
Well, I mean, it depends. I mean, you know, it's just like,
I know you have a lot of influences.
Elton John obviously was the first thing that I was the power of music. I remember seeing Elton John on the Sonny and Cher show.
Yeah.
And he was playing Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. And at that time, I didn't even know it was a Beatles song.
Oh,
I'm
okay,
just
yeah.
going, I just thought him. And so it's like crazy whenever I YouTube up, you know, like
That
Elton
clip,
John, Sonny
yeah.
and Cher show. It's just like you get, you know,
Yeah,
the power
you're
of
right back
music
there.
or movies, you know, that you saw when you were kids.
So that would have been like you about 74, right? You've been
75.
okay,
Yeah,
so you're
75.
7, 8 years old. You're watching this
Totally.
legend, but you don't know he's the legend.
No.
And if he's
but
doing
I
a
would
Beatles
just-
song, you don't know it's a Beatles song.
Yeah,
All
my
you
mom
know
and
is
dad
like,
had Sonny and Cher on.
whatever this is.
But yeah, so but was kind of funny how all of us, you know, your introduction to certain songs, you know, like when people go, why does Hollywood regurgitate, you know, they remake movies?
Yeah.
I go, because for the next generation, they've never seen The Exorcist.
Yeah.
So if they're going to remake any classic movies, it's because they've never seen it.
Yeah,
You know, because
yeah.
I mean, like, so I've never even heard, you know, so that was like my first introduction. And I remember my buddy Scott, his older brothers, I was like, oh, I heard this, you know, this amazing song by this guy, Elton John. It's so awesome. They were like, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. They go, Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds? That's an Elton John song. That's a Beatles song, you know?
Yeah.
And then they just beat me profusely out in the
Yeah.
garage of the house. And then after that, we went and saw James Bond, Moonraker.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, man, we just saw James Bond. That was amazing. And I was like, Roger Moore's amazing.
Yeah.
And
got
they go,
it again.
Roger Moore, he's not James Bond. Sean Connery's James.
Yeah.
So I got beat up again profusely.
Yeah.
But like you said, so that was my introduction to those songs.
Yeah.
I mean, or movies or whatever, you know. So it's just like, you know, it just transcends. But it's
Yeah.
just like, but yeah. But I remember it was so funny seeing. I was with Oz and Mom with Mrs. O. Me and Barb got my wife we got remarried for like the 428th time in Vegas, right? And we all went and saw Elton John when he was doing his residency thing. So we were all there, and Mom got us because she's friends with Elton John. So I never met him before. So I had my book when I was like 8 years old, and I still have the Elton John wall poster and everything like that. But I brought this book I've had since I've been 8 years old. You know what I mean? So I got it for Christmas or whatever. And we went back, and it's amazing because I'm sitting here getting a picture. I got a picture. Oz is on one side and Elton John's on the other. It's like just bizarro land.
Yeah.
Like my two biggest musical influences.
Yeah.
Pretty mind blowing.
Yeah. Well, I know you're a song guy, meaning when I listen to your music, I know you love song. You know,
Yeah,
not every
totally.
not every shredder loves song. You know, some shredders just wait to get
Yeah,
on.
no, but it is kind of funny because when a lot of my buddies that are anybody that I know that's shredders, everyone loves great music. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
whether it's yacht rock or we're listening
Yeah.
to new wave essentials or whatever,
Mhm.
it's just like, yeah, as much as, no, it is crazy. I mean, I'm just saying, but look at Father Steve with Steve Vai.
Yeah.
One of Steve's basically his favorite artists is Tom Waits, and you would never get that.
Never guessed that.
From if you were talking about Steve, you would figure Steve, like one of his favorite artists would be John McLaughlin or Alan Holdsworth
Sure,
or
yeah.
some insane guitar player, right? And so it's just like, Steve's like, oh, no way. He's like, if I was a desert island guy, Tom Waits all day long. Like, and so trying to put Tom Waits with Steve's insane guitar playing,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
It's beautiful that I think you're right, because what you're reminding me is that most great musicians love great music.
yeah,
It's probably there's some connection there between their love of music and just because they had sort of find their own personality in it. Like you were saying, like, it's not that you didn't love Yngwie. You're like, I don't want to sound like Yngwie. You know what I mean?
no,
It's like,
totally.
yeah.
I mean, like Yngwie, and even being around Yngwie, he loves Keith Richards. He loves the Stones. He loves everything. You know what I mean? So it's not that Yngwie's just, and I mean, obviously his love for classical
Yeah.
music and Bach and everything like that. He was just like, I mean, he loves that style.
Were
of
you
music.
like me? Were you trying to look up who the hell is Paganini? Were you in
No,
that phase?
well, obviously,
Remember you'd read like in the magazine and be like, Paganini, who the fuck's
no,
Paganini?
without it, but that's what I'm saying. That's
Yeah.
how you discover all these
Yeah, yeah.
amazing guys. I mean, like put it this way, like we was talking about the last meteor to hit the earth. I mean, as far as guitar impact,
Yeah.
it was just like Derek Sherinian, who Derek played with Dream Theater, and Derek's this. I mean, you can Google up Derek playing Spanish Fly on the piano, right? I mean, Derek's a whole nother level, but it's just like even Derek was saying when he was at Berkeley, because him and JD both went to Berkeley. JD who plays in Black Label. So, but when Yngwie hit, they were opening up wards in Berkeley, classical wards because of Yngwie's impact.
Oh, interesting.
You know what I mean? Like guitar studies were all these Bach studies and Vivaldi, Paganini, and just because of his explosion on the scene and because he made it, everyone wanted to learn it.
Yeah.
You know.
So I want to jump into your recent stuff. I know you put out a song recently, Gallows. Right?
Yeah, we were
With
getting
Black
ready to
Label.
do. Oh, it's just so weird right now because.
Is that because of the Pantera thing?
Well, no, I mean, we're doing obviously the Pantera celebration, which is a blast, and we're all having a great time and honoring Dime and Vinnie every night, and Phil and Rex, this amazing thing that they created, that just touched so many people. So, I mean, we're all having a blast out on that because with the crew and everybody, it's just like one gigantic family. So we're having a great time out on that. But like in between that, and then we just did the Berserkers Fest and everything like that. So any times in between and the Zakk Sabbath thing and all this other stuff, it's just like between cleaning the dog run, doing dishes, laundry, and then it's just like, whatever time, and bringing Sabbath Page to school or whatever time we empty time we have in there, it just will go into Black Vatican and track some new ideas. So, but it's a weird thing because I mean, the old model of making, you make a record and we put it out, and you promote it.
That's gone.
Yeah, it's just like you almost kind of you could just put singles out.
Yeah.
because it's just like when you release a record, they could just, as soon as it goes out, it's all there anyways. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just a weird,
Yeah.
like that. Nobody uses rotary phones anymore. You know what I mean? Because everyone has cell phones. It's just like, and there's no pay phones anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
back in the day, you'd have to pull over at a truck stop
Oh, I remember.
to call home. You know what I mean? So, and it's just like we'd be walking around we'd go to a 7-Eleven. I go, Bill, do you notice something right? He goes, yeah, there's no pay phones.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
go, yeah, they're gone.
Yeah, they're gone. I do want to talk about Black Label, but want to start with Pantera because obviously you've been doing this touring. It's hard. I was around that band a lot in the '90s. You probably don't know that, but so I got to know Dime a bit, and got to see him play live 20 times. And I hope you take this as a compliment because I mean it as a very respectful compliment. I heard, because we're in the biz, you start hearing rumblings that you guys were going to do something.
Yeah.
6-9 months before it happened. And, of course, the first question people ask, well, who's going to play guitar? And the minute I heard it was your name, I was like, oh, that's definitely going to work.
I do. I appreciate it, man.
So I'm glad you take that as a compliment because you're one of the only guys on the planet I think could both honor Dime and play the music. Does it make sense the way I put that?
Yeah, well, I mean, my whole thing is like whenever anybody asks me, like when it was all, this is when Vinnie was still alive, it was just like, there was always one, hey, Zakk, man, if the fellas ever do it or whatever, did a reunion, to celebrate Dime and everything like that, would you be, I go, of course I would. It's just like, I remember Rob Halford, we were opening for Judas Priest over in Europe on some of the shows. And down in when we were down in South America when we first started doing it, and Rob was like, Zakk, this is a real beautiful thing that you guys are doing. And I was like, thanks, Rob. He just goes, I said it wasn't a matter of if I'll do it, it's when I'll do it, because I just equate it to like with Jimi Hendrix and Eric Clapton, like with their relationship. If Mitch and Noel would have said, Eric, we want to go celebrate Jimmy.
Yeah. Would
you sing and play Jimmy's stuff?
Yeah.
How? Of course, Eric Clapton's going to say yes.
Yeah, I get that.
He was there. If you laid, I laid Dime to rest.
Yeah.
As a pallbearer. So, like, what do you think I'm going to do? It's my buddy.
Yeah. But we live in this complicated world where people do silly things, say silly stuff. So the other reason I thought it was going to work is you have so much respect from people as a musician. It registered in my mind that, like, if anybody was going to stand there and sort of navigate it, it was you. I literally can't think of anybody else that could be in that spot.
I think about it. I appreciate it. No, but I mean, I just always look at it like if Dime and Vinnie were at the soundboard, and we go, we got you guys an early Christmas present. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And they were like, all right, man, because the guys were always about having a good time, everyone partying and just barbecuing and whatever. And they go, check this out. We got a little something for you.
Yeah.
And like all of a sudden the guys are just sitting out at the front of the house or whatever, and then all of a sudden the curtain drops and it's just we new level, and the kabuki comes down and it's me, Charlie, Phil, and Rex, and Zakk and Charlie wanted to get you an early birthday present or whatever, and they'd be going, I can't believe these jackasses are playing on, because I mean they'd be like. I'm just saying, if it was Dime doing it, Dime and Vinnie doing it up there with me and Charlie playing either, Ozzy, Anthrax songs or the Black Label, whatever, it'd just be like, me and Charlie would be like crying, laughing, and just like watching Dime doing the solo with No More Tears or whatever. It would sound like Dime playing it, regardless, because he's not going to escape that. Dime could play Eruption. And it's going to sound, you could listen to it and go, yeah, it sounds like Dime playing Eruption.
Yeah.
Even if it's note for note, it's just going to sound like that because of his touch and his feel.
Yeah.
So just like when Randy Rhoads is playing Paranoid, it sounds like Randy Rhoads playing Paranoid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but no, I just always picture them every night. You know what I mean? Just like, I just picture them either, because especially when Reed is over there on the side of the stage and everything like that, it's just like, yeah, they'd be, especially those two guys, because they just love life so much.
Yeah, one of my favorite memories of Dime is They were playing the Aragon Ballroom, and I'm sure you played there many times, right? You must have.
Yeah, totally.
So, there's this, like, it's the old school thing where there's, like, the balcony, like the the opera
Yeah,
singer spot.
totally.
So I was up there, and, like typical them, they had me drinking whatever the or the hell they drank before shows. And I'm not a drinker.
With a spare liver and
Yeah,
pancreas on ice.
So I'm up there. I'm feeling a little wobbly. And I don't know what the hell they were playing. And Dime spots me. And like he locks eyes with me. And for a minute, he's just looking at me, and he's playing the craziest.
Just shredding.
Never doesn't look at the guitar at all. And he's looking at me like that thing he would do, like, fuck yeah. And I'm like for a minute, he's just I'm like, why are you playing for me, mother? But that's the way he was, right?
Totally.
It's like, I know you're watching me.
No, totally, man. He was the best, without a doubt.
So it's beautiful what you're doing. I'm glad to see it, because you'd heard about it through the years, and even the weirdness with the fans and Phil. I'm glad that's all kind of seems to be done.
Yeah, well, I just think, like, anyone that comes and sees it, it's just, it is what it is. It's a beautiful tribute to the guys, and it really is pretty amazing. Like, every night, Phil just always asks, he's like, well, how many people, saw Pantera back in the day? Yeah. And then you'll have obviously the Pantera faithful that were like, Zakk, I seen Dime and Vinnie and the fellas when, and Phil and Rex, when there was like 8 people in the club or whatever, and then until when the guys exploded and whatever. So it was just, you have the Pantera faithful, and he's like, all right, how many people, this is their first time ever hearing these songs live? I'd have to say it's either 75%.
Wow.
Like, of the younger kids.
Yeah. Well, it's about the music.
Like my Uncle Zakk took me, my Uncle Zakk always told me about the legend of Pantera and, how great they were. And it was just like this force to be reckoned with. And it's just like, so you have, so now I'm bringing my nephews who are old enough to see it now, because they were 5 years old when Pantera, when it ended.
Great songs, too. Great.
Yeah, well, that's what I always say. What separated Sabbath from everything, it's not because it's heavy. Yeah. It's because it's great songs. Yeah. So it's just like with Pantera, as far as I'm concerned, I always say Pantera is in their genre of extreme metal. They are the gold standard of where everything, just like how Sabbath and Zeppelin, the Stones, the Beatles are the gold standard. Yeah. For what, so if it's Southern rock bands, it's the Allman Brothers and Skynyrd. Yeah. Are the gold standard of that style of music. So with extreme, they're all measured by what Pantera set.
I think I told this story somewhere else, but I'll tell it to you because you probably don't know it. But I was backstage with them, and it was when Metallica was kind of having trouble somewhere in the 90s. Like fans didn't like the record. It was, I don't remember.
Navigating through the crazy
whatever.
waters.
It was just those weird years where they were kind of figuring out what became Metallica 2.0 or whatever. And, the guys in Pantera being fans were kind of bitching about Metallica. They were just being how they were, they're just drunk rednecks, whatever. You know what I mean? Whatever. It's just the way they were. And I knew them well enough to...
Fellas having a good time.
Sure. So they're going on about Metallica. And again, I knew them enough to... I'd heard enough. And I said, shut up. And they all looked at me like, what'd you just say to us? And I said, you're the best metal band in the world right now. You're the best metal band in the world. They'll be fine. Worry about Pantera. And they were all like, they wanted to argue with me, but they were like, you just gave us a compliment. So that's my fun days.
But that happens with everybody, whether it be Zeppelin is so huge
sure.
or whatever.
It comes from a place of love, because if you love the band, you're like,
yeah, you wouldn't be concerned with them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, totally, man.
One quick funny thing. First time I ever heard of Pantera, we were playing 7th Street Entry, if you ever played there. It's the side club in Minneapolis. There's the first.
Oh, yeah. Where the Prince...
Yes, but it's the side club. It holds like 300 people.
Gotcha.
So when we were an indie band in the 80s, we'd go play there.
Gotcha.
And we were in there one night, and this guy goes, motherfuckers were here last night. You got to hear it. This is the sound guy. I don't even know the guy. He goes, this band that was here last night, Pantera. Wait, what's Pantera? And he holds up the flyer, and it's when they were like
Oh,
the
they
metal,
had the big
like,
hair, yeah.
like the big hair Pantera.
Totally, yeah.
And he was like, I never heard a band like this in my life.
Yeah, the intensity.
You know, you just hear this name, and it just lays there for years, like Pantera, and then suddenly they burst on the scene whenever.
Like the Warrior. You hear the dun 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 dun, and him running out to the ring.
There you go. It's
shaking the ropes.
See, you're smart.
I'm
It all
just
goes back
saying,
to wrestling.
So that it was that type of impact.
I want to ask you a little bit because I ran into Vinnie a lot in those years after Diamond passed away, and I know you saw him too. So I feel it's worth talking about Vinnie because it was really hard to see how brokenhearted he was. It's not that he wasn't trying to move on with his life. You know, Vinnie was Vinnie.
Yeah.
He was always going to be a party wherever Vinnie was.
Yeah, well, you never move on from that. You just,
So how did you, as a friend or a compatriot,
you have to carry on, but you never.
But how did you perceive that at the time?
No, with Vin, obviously, as friends, you all support each other. So, but it was just, no, I remember when Vin, but yeah, it's a weird thing, but that's when you see who your real friends are and everything, because I mean, between Bride Dog and all the guys in his community, and then when he started the thing with the Hell Yeah guys, all the fellas in that camp and the crew and everything like that, so would always be, around Vin and everything like that. So I mean, but as far as I always tell everybody, if you ever want to honor Dime and Vinnie, it was their love of life. Because Vinnie, when we were doing the Hell Yeah tour, we were doing the Megadeth tour. So it was Megadeth. When Father Dave was, when Disturbed was on hiatus, and he was doing his solo thing at the time, Device, and then it was Hell Yeah, and then Black Label. We were all rolling together. I remember Vinnie got tickets for me and Phil, who rolls with Black Label. We got tickets because we're big New York Giant guys, and Vinnie being a huge Dallas Cowboy guy. So he got tickets. He's like, all right, next season we're all going to see the Cowboys and the Giants. So Vinnie got tickets for that. Obviously, the massive blowout at Vinnie's house, and then we all go to the game. But it was just, but yeah, Vinnie. And then when we were doing that tour, it was just the way Pantera rolled. It just carried on with that. I mean, it's like every day, massive spread after the gig, when there was loadout going on, tent, it would be Van Halen cranking, Led Zeppelin cranking, Sabbath cranking. I mean, everything. It would just a massive spread of food, with ribs and everything like that and stuff. And then we'd have to get you your vegan pie. You know what I mean? We'd have to.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Exactly.
I can almost hear Vinnie and Dime making fun of me.
But they would have said, we made sure we got you vegan. They would have got you the vegan dishes.
Absolutely. I want to jump in the Ozzy years because, you were how old when you tried out for Ozzy?
I was, 19? Or right before, 20 years old.
It strikes me because not only, obviously, you got the gig, but you immediately jump into his world and you start contributing. You take him in this different musical
It was
career.
a weird thing because, I mean, I remember when I was at the audition, it was kind of funny because all the other guys.
Did you fly out from, did they fly you out?
They flew me out, from New Jersey out to L.A., right?
So I'd never been on. Did they fly you coach or first class?
I was in luggage,
Exactly.
Because they didn't know whether it's going to pan out or not.
Sharon does watch her pennies.
No, Mom doesn't skimp though. She takes care of everybody. But the whole thing is, I came out and I remember, but some of the guys that were auditioning, it was so weird because everybody was talking about, I hear the gig pays well, it's a good opportunity or whatever, career opportunity or whatever. And all I was thinking is, here I am, I've been wearing a Yankee jersey, I'm a fan of the Yankees. Like, to me, that jersey is sacred ground, to put Yankee pinstripes on. And, my hero's Thurman Munson. I'm a catcher. And now I'm standing in the same spot where Thurman Munson stood.
I get it.
So, for me, that's how sacred it is.
I get it.
to me. So
As a Sabbath guy, I
yeah,
get
and
it.
like for everybody else,
And Ozzy with Rand. I mean, come on.
but a lot of other people, they were just like, yeah, whatever, you know, take it or leave it. I think it's a good paying gig.
Well, to make you laugh real quick, we just tried out. We needed a guitar player, so we said we'll take anybody. We got 10,000 people submitted to be
Yeah.
our new guitar player, and you know, you go through the list and you pick people who got a little bit of a resume, and you could just see people coming through the door. It's just a gig, and you're like, this is my life, motherfucker. You know what I mean? Like
that they, you know, somebody, yeah, if they grew up loving the Oakland Raiders and now they're an Oakland Raider, you know, so it's just
you could just tell some people it was just another gig. It was weird to me. It's like, where's your heart in this? Like if you don't like my music, you probably shouldn't be here. You know what I mean? It's like,
without a doubt.
like what is that? So I get it. Like you as a fan,
No,
particularly
I
of
was just
Sabbath,
like,
you
this
must have
is-
been like, oh my god.
Yeah,
this
I was
is-
just hoping to get an autograph and a picture with Ozzy. I can't even believe this is happening. You know what I mean? So, yeah, it was just.
So
pretty
did you
surreal.
audition with the band? Like who was the band?
Yeah, I played with Randy Castillo was there and Phil Susan and Phil.
Boy,
and,
I
Phil and
hung out with
Randy.
Randy a couple times. What a lovely guy.
Amazing. Randy was awesome. And Phil's a great guy too. I mean, you know, I hung out with. They made me feel real comfortable, and they were like, "Yeah, Zakk, why don't we do Suicide Solution? We'll do Crazy Train, Bark at the Moon, or whatever. You know, I don't know." And I was like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Any singing or just the band
No,
playing
just
instrumental?
playing. You know,
Yeah.
Oz wasn't there yet, and then they had me come back the next day, and that's when I met Ozzy. And you know, Oz was like, "Zakk, just play with your heart and change your pants. Something smells in here." It was after I crapped my pants, and then, you know, and then Oz goes, "And then Zakk, go make me a ham sandwich, but go light on the mustard. The Coleman's is a very powerful mustard. It'll overpower the sandwich." So ever since then, I've been making ham sandwiches for the
Yeah.
boss, I always say, and going light on the Coleman's.
Yeah.
But I mean, no, but he just, Oz was super cool, and everything was great. And then, you know, but it was so funny because Ozzy had said to me, he goes, "Have I met you before?" And I was like, unless Oz saw me, you know, when on the Bark at the Moon tour, when Motley Crue opened up for him, when we saw him at, it was either at the Garden or the Spectrum. And it was just like, and Oz saw us going nuts under the mezzanine level or whatever. Maybe that's the only place you could have seen me. But he was just like, "No, I've seen you somewhere before where," and Oz goes, "I know where I've seen you." He goes, because Oz never went through any of the tapes. He'd just be like, "Billy, Zakk, sort out the guitar," you know, and when you get down to the final guys, I'll come down and say hi.
Sure.
So, but I guess, you know, my sister took a Polaroid of me on my mom and dad's porch, right? And Ozzy said he looked at it and he goes, "Oh, look at this little kid. He must really love Randy Rhoads." Which we do, still do, always will. But yeah, but he was just like, I guess that's, Ozzy goes, "Now I remember where I saw you," because that was the only picture of, you know, of all the cassettes that I actually took a look at, because we were sitting on the kitchen counter in
Sure.
our
He's
house.
probably walking by.
And he was,
that's-
he goes, "Oh, look at this kid, must really love Randy Rhoads." He goes, "I didn't think anything of it." And then
There you
so
are.
that's where I remember seeing you.
So you step into this crazy world, Ozzy land. You know,
Well, put it this way: when I first joined the band, right, it was just like, I remember going, obviously when we were in England and we started writing, and nobody would want to hang with Oz because I was the only one that wanted to hang with him and drink. So, and that's why Mom eventually started calling us the Gruesome Twosome, right? So, you know, like I remember Bobby Thompson, God bless his soul. Bobby had known Ozzy since because he was working with Nazareth back in the 70s and everything, and he knew Ozzy from Sabbath, and you know how everybody knows everybody in
Especially
different
in
crews.
England.
Yeah, and everybody knows everybody. And then they, you know, they were working with, you know, if they were working with Alice in Chains, now they're out with, you know, Smashing Pumpkins, then they're out with Black Label, then they're out with, you know, Ozzy, and all the crew guys knows everybody, so they're in different camps. So he started working with Oz when Oz started with Randy and playing the clubs and doing everything like that. So then now he's talking with me, and I'm drinking with the boss, and he goes, Zakky, you don't want you don't want to go drinking with Ozzy. I go, but I like drinking with Ozzy. He goes, Zachy, you don't want to get into the web. Stay out of the web. Because he said, because basically what Oz would do was just go, Mom would always go like, who were you out drinking? Well, I was out drinking with Billy last night and Zachy and Bobby, so then he'd throw everybody under the bus.
Yeah, it's your fault.
So Bobby's saying, stay
Yeah.
out of the
Yeah,
web.
yeah.
But I never got out of the web. I would
Yeah.
always stay with Oz and we'd go drinking all the time. But yeah, but it was pretty hilarious though, man. But Mom called up Barbara Ann, my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, right? And he goes, Barbara Ann, can I speak with her? And Barb's like, why, of course, Mrs. Osbourne. And he goes, does Zachy have a drinking problem? And she goes, oh no, Zach drinks milk and stuff. And he goes, oh, he does now.
Oh my God.
But anyways, yeah, so, whereas my other friends, all my buddies went to college, I went to Ozzy Osbourne University, where I graduated in cocktails and the art of drinking, you know what I mean?
Were you, because I've been around Ozzy a few times and worked with Tony a bit. It's like, it's hard not to ask them the 8,000 questions that you, I know you know him for so long now it wouldn't matter, but when you're first starting with somebody, did you resist the temptation or did you want to jump in?
Oh, no, I jumped right in. I
love it.
There was no resistance
Were you
whatsoever.
doing like, on Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, were you doing that stuff?
Oh, no, as far as, yeah, Oz would tell me all the stories. So, like, here I am, like, mega super fan of Satin, because Sabbath's my favorite band, and then him starting with Randy, and then I love Jake, and then, I mean, they're just all his solo stuff, and now I'm in the band, like me playing with the Yankees, and I get a chance to talk with Babe Ruth, and Mickey Mantle, and Lou Gehrig, and Yogi Berra, and hear all these insane stories, and Billy Martin, you know what I mean? It's just like...
Did you ever get to, in the old Yankee Stadium, did you ever get to go in that locker room?
No, I've never toured, and
The
obviously...
old one, before they tore it down.
No, but they still had Thurman's
I got a
Thurman's
quick story for you. So I'm buddies with David Wells, the great...
Yeah, Dave's great.
Right, I'm sure you've hung with Dave. So Dave and I were hanging out in New York somewhere when he was pitching for the Yankees, and he left me tickets to a playoff game. So I end up sitting next to Mrs. Chambliss, Chris Chambliss, the former Yankee, and very nice. And so I watched the game, and then Dave said, after the game, go here, go stand there, family area. So I'm standing there, and here comes Joe Torre. He wants to talk to me. Recognized me, shook my hand. I'm like, oh my God, because I saw Joe Torre play when he was with the Mets in like 75 or something, right? So I'm like, oh my God, it's Joe Torre. So I'm standing there, and Mr. Torre said to me something like, you waiting for somebody? And I said, well, I think somebody's supposed to come get me. He goes, oh yeah, just stay here. Somebody will come get you. So he leaves. And somebody comes, Billy, follow me. Dave, da-da-da. So they take me down into the bowels. I don't know. I have no idea where I'm going. Yeah. Turn left, turn right, turn left, turn right. Open a door. Now I'm in the Yankees clubhouse.
Wow.
I'm like...
Yeah, from the original
and by the way,
Yankee
I know
Stadium.
enough about sports teams. It's like, be careful if you want to go in a clubhouse. You know what I mean?
Totally.
You gotta. It's their
It's sacred ground.
It's their space, right?
Yeah.
So now I'm talking to David Cohn. Who was the great center fielder during those years?
Bernie Williams.
Bernie. Talking to Bernie. Everyone's being super nice. You know what I mean?
Totally.
Harold Jackson. Harold used to play for Astros. He was a commentator at the time. I know you know I'm talking about.
Harold Reynolds?
Harold Reynolds.
Okay.
He's at that point he's a reporter for ESPN. He turns around and goes, "What the hell are you doing here?" I'm like, "I don't know. Somebody brought me in here."
Yeah.
So because David, I think, won the game.
Yankees just signed me. I'm starting tonight.
I'm a lefty.
Exactly.
I got a good curveball. Anyway, finish the story. So Dave's got to go do post media because he won the game or something. So I'm like, I don't know what to do, and I'm like, like you're a little kid, like I don't know where to go. So somebody goes,
just being respectful, just chill.
Absolutely, I know. And Dave's like, no, just stay there. You know how he is.
Yeah.
Who cares? Just stay there.
Totally.
Right. So somebody comes over and says, go in there and have some food. They had they had a little catering area. It's like smaller than this area we're in right now. So I go in there. There's nobody in there, and it's obviously the players' food. And the guy who brought me was like a staffer or something. He goes, go ahead, have some food. It's all good. So I get some mustacholi and This is when I wasn't vegan, you know.
Yeah.
And I make my little plate, and I'm standing there eating, and I feel a tap on my shoulder, and I turn around. It's George Steinbrenner,
Wow.
and I go, and I'm expecting him to rip me apart. Who the hell are you? What are you doing here? He goes, you like the Yankees? And I mean, I know who he is,
Yeah,
right?
totally.
And I go, honestly, I'm a Cubs guy. And he goes, but do you like the Yankees? And I go, love the Yankees. He goes, is the food good? I'm like, yeah, it's great. He goes, have a great time. Lovely to see you here.
Wow.
So
That's
I'm good with the
awesome.
boss.
Yeah, totally.
So that's
But that's great. I mean,
Hey, but when you're standing there where Ruth stood and
yeah, totally. It's amazing.
Lou Gehrig, are you kidding
Without
me?
a doubt.
As a baseball fan, I get chills just telling you. It's like,
No, totally.
It's cool.
That's why it is pretty great. That's why I'm saying it is pretty crazy. You know, I mean, I love new stadiums, but like I just hope they never tear Fenway down or Wrigley.
We just played Fenway with Green Day and Wrigley.
Yeah.
Dude, I mean, come on.
I mean, amazing. But what I'm saying is like the same thing. They tore Yankee Stadium down, and I'm saying like if they build a new Fenway Park, you know, and it's bigger and it's better and more modern, you know, stuff and everything like that. It's just like, yeah, but it's. I mean, something has to be said, you know, because in Vegas too, they just knock everything down. No, but nothing has any historic value.
Nothing sacred in Vegas for sure.
Yeah, well, you would think of the stands, like if we owned it, I would keep it exactly the way it was when
Frank was here.
When Frank and the fellas were there, when the Rat Pack was there, and literally leave the hotel the way it was, and the suites the way they were, the Sammy suite, the Frank suite, the Dean, and everything like that, and literally the TVs, everything, maybe change the carpeting so the carpeting's fresh or whatever, but exact same carpeting, so it's literally a time warp, and then build onto the hotel with the modern stuff. So, you know, people could go, oh man, did you stay in the original or the back?
The Frank,
You know what I mean? And it would be, you know, we charge a ton for the evening that you spend in the Frank suite, and you have dinner and the whole 9 yards. But like make a big thing out of it. But it's just like something has to be said about the old ballparks, like Fenway, and you have Wrigley.
So you're doing what I called If I Ruled the World.
Yes.
So this is if Zakk ruled the world.
Yes,
I want to live in the world you're ruling.
But it's the truth.
Sounds good to me.
You know what I mean? Like CBGBs. I never got a chance to play that. Did you ever play
Twice.
it? But that's why I'm shocked that like.
By the way,
like the
punk
rock
amazing
community didn't purchase it.
Crazy, right?
And just leave it.
Make it a museum or something.
Or keep it still so it's still running.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. So let's say if Johnny Lydon actually bought it and owns it.
Sure.
You know, and it's just like, who owns it?
Or some billionaire owns it and says Johnny Lydon owns it, right?
Yeah,
Just make it a thing.
He's the ambassador of the club.
Sure. See? If Zakk ruled
You know
the
what I
world.
mean?
I like it. We should do a whole... Next time you come back, we'll do If Zakk Ruled the World.
Yeah, like what about history here, man? You know what I'm saying? No, and actually talking about history on the Hendrix Experience thing, right? Because we're doing that right now, which is always a blast. The owner brought out Jimmy's white Strat.
Oh, wow.
The one that he played the national anthem on at Woodstock.
The Woodstock.
The Woodstock Strat.
Did you get to play it?
Yeah, I just noodled on it for a little bit. But I mean, I'm just saying the magic.
I'm just super jealous right now.
Yeah. I mean, well, it's the same thing with any of Randy's guitars or Eddie's guitars. You know, like what is the guitar Ed played on Eruption? I mean, that's the historic value on that alone.
Yeah.
The recording of that. You know what I mean? Or Jimmy Page's double necks, and you know.
Sure.
I mean, like how you said, like all these guitars that go for auction, whether it was what was it, Kurt Cobain's the acoustic, you know, that he used on.
Well, that's a funny story. I don't know if you know that story.
Oh, how it was bought at an auction.
No, how the guy who sold it got it.
What happened on that?
Well, he was married to Frances.
Oh.
And in the divorce or something, he claimed, at least this was the story that I saw. Don't know if it's true, but he claimed that she gave it to him.
Oh boy. Like she should be owning that guitar.
I've known Frances since she was in the crib, so it was a hard story to see, you know.
Yeah.
That's a funky one.
Just buy it back.
Back to you. There you go. If we ruled the world, see, maybe we'll rule the world together. I'll
Do
deal
the
with
right thing.
I'll deal with the
vegan
vegan alternative side.
Yeah.
You deal with the ribs and the Yankees. In doing the research, I mean, I kind of knew these things, but you know, you're kind of reminded that Bob Daisley played on the first record you did with Ozzy, right? That's not
Yeah,
and
no
but
rest.
then in Ozzy world, of course, then Geezer ends up coming back for the tour.
Totally.
So now you're playing in half a Sabbath.
It was
You must have
it
totally
was
geeked
insane.
out.
I mean,
Geezer's
yeah, I mean,
unbelievable.
and
And Bob
talk,
Daisley's amazing too.
well, and Bob's amazing as well,
But Geezer
without a doubt.
Geezer plays such cool stuff.
Actually, both Bob is ridiculous too. I mean, his bass lines are, because Bob's a huge Jamerson, Paul McCartney guy and everything like that. And same thing with Geezer.
Yeah.
Well, it all starts
But
with Jamerson.
Geezer plays this weird way where it's like he makes the songs heavier. Because if you really listen to Sabbath
Oh,
guitar,
yeah,
Tony's playing
yeah.
some amazing riff, but it's really Geezer that gives it this kind of the weird.
No, it's their bass playing is just
Yeah.
ridiculous. I mean, aside of either whether they're gonna double the riff or then they're gonna play some counterpoint
Yeah.
to a riff. But
I
mean,
just saw that and I had to ask you
it is
because
pretty amazing. Because Geezer was another one like Ozzy where I could
Yeah.
pick his brain
Oh.
about Sabbath things, and it was just
Well,
like.
Geezer used to write a lot of the lyrics.
Well,
Right?
here's a good one. When we were doing the Osmosis record with Geezer was back together on that one when we did, with
Yeah.
Perry Mason and See on the Other Side and everything like that. So we were recording a bunch of it with Dean Castronova. It was Dean, Geezer, me, and Oz, right? With Michael Beinhorn was working on that record with us. So, but Mikey, we recorded the drums in Paris, and then we came back to New York, and we were recording so I had a blast making that record as far as like going out to we were right in the center of like Paris. So we'd be going out to whiskey bars every night, just hanging out after we got done tracking. Then the same thing in New York City. So it was just a blast the whole time. But I remember there was this place in New York City called the Magical Child, a cult bookstore, right? It's not there anymore, but it was like this legendary occult bookstore where everything was in it. You had Christianity, you had everything in there, Catholicism,
Crowley,
Satanism,
yeah.
Crowley, you had Wicca, you had everything. It was one-stop shop and occult bookstore,
Okay.
right, on every religion. So I remember going in there and it was just epic. I got some books. I got the Satanic Bible and some books on Crowley, just like I was going to do a book report on like, who's Babe Ruth? What's the big deal with this Babe Ruth guy, right? Like, what's the big deal with Crowley and
Sure.
why is everyone so enamored with it? So I get a couple Crowley books, obviously the Satanic Bible, all this Anton LaVey stuff, and then so they had a mural of Aleister Crowley, and I go, how much for the painting? I mean the poster. The guy, I had to ask him, like, Bill, if you were with me, I would have bet. How much for the painting? The guy goes, $6.66. I go, awesome. I go, here's $7. Keep the change.
Yeah, right.
So anyways, I get all this stuff. So we're tracking in the studio. I got the picture of Crowley up on the wall, this mural of him. I got a picture of Jimmy Page up on the wall, a picture of Jimi Hendrix, a poster of Jimi Hendrix up on the wall because I was at some record store. So I got all this stuff up on the wall. And I remember Oz comes in one day and he goes, I'm tracking guitars, and he goes, he's just looking at the picture, and he's telling me, he sees the picture of Jimmy Page, and he goes, oh, man, he goes, Zakk, I remember me and Bonzo, and he's telling me these amazing Bonzo stories.
The Sabbath and Zeppelin camps
Yeah,
were tight.
totally. Yeah, well, from Birmingham and everything like
Yeah.
that. So, but he said, it was mostly John Bonham that he was buddies with. So, the rest of the guy, and Robert, he kind of knew Robert, but it was more John, where they'd go out drinking and getting hammered. So he was telling me some hilarious stories with the two of them. And then he goes, talking about Jimi Hendrix, he goes, I remember me and Geezer went and saw him. We were like, this can't be real. When he was playing behind his head
Sure,
with his
yeah.
teeth, they were going, this has got to be the tape. Or is it, this is, because they
Yeah.
said it just didn't even look real. And then he goes, Zakk, who's the bald-headed on the wall? And I go, Phil, if you would have been there, I go, Oz, you don't know who that is? And he just goes, who is it? I go, oh, come on, Oz, you don't know who that is? Who is it? I go, you've been singing about him since like 1979, 1980. Oh, come on, who is it? I go, you don't know who that is. He goes, oh, who the f*** is it? I go, Oz, that's Aleister Crowley. Aleister Crowley. And he goes, And he walks up to the poster and he stares and he goes, "Oh, is that what he looks like?" And then he goes, Geezer's sitting there, and Geezy goes, "Who's the Anton LaVey? Where have I heard that name?" And Geezer goes, because the Satanic Bible was sitting in the thing, and he goes, Geezer, because Geezer knows all about it. You know, he's well read on it. You know, like if you ask him about baseball players, just like what number was, Mickey Mantle. Rookie season, he was 6, then he turns it to 7, because they won it in succession or what. He could tell you the history on the players or whatever. What number was Thurman Munson? He was number 15, whatever. So it's just like Geezer's the college professor of the occult stuff with the Sabbath guys. So Geezer could tell you who they are, and he just goes, he goes, "Geez, who's that Anton LaVey? Who do I know that name for?" He goes, "Do you remember when we had the record release party in California, in San Francisco? They had on California Street where the Church of Satan was."
Yeah.
He goes, "They had a record release party, like a
I never
parade."
heard that.
Exactly. Well, it's a condo now, right? So it's just like, he goes, "But they had a record, Warner Brothers had a record release party for the first album."
Or for the first album?
Yes, for the very first Sabbath album. And Oz goes, "Oh, he was the guy with the shaved head." And he goes, "Yeah, that's Anton LaVey." And Oz goes, oh, I remember now. Oh, no wonder why the album didn't do as well as it could have."
Yeah.
No,
Sabbath,
I'm just
Sabbath
saying,
humor.
it's awesome. I mean, Oz has zero clue who any of these people are,
But he is the Prince of
zero
Darkness.
interest. Like he has kind of like a brief knowledge of some of who these people are, but it's just like, but you ask him like World War II.
He loves
quizzes.
he loves his World War II
if he was
history.
on Jeopardy for World War II, I'll take 500 for that question or this one. Yeah, without a doubt.
I love Michael Beinhorn as a person. As a producer, I didn't see eye to eye with him, and a lot of people didn't see eye to eye with him. And I'm not asking for dirt.
No, but it's weird because I know I've heard those stories, but me and Mikey got along great.
Yeah.
But I mean,
sorry to frame it slightly, but it seems like, and you just reading stuff. Except I'm asking you because you were there, but it seems like that's where things start to get a little weird. That it was a career insecurity for Ozzy, and because I've read something about even Steve Vai was writing songs with him.
No, I think it was.
I'm just saying. I'm trying to understand the atmosphere that led to you leaving.
No, when
I'm not looking for dirt. I'm just trying to understand.
No, I'm saying it's like when we did, obviously when we came back to do Osmosis in '95. Because obviously No More Tears was 91, 92, whatever, and then we did Live and Loud, the live album, and then we had like See on the Other Side, and there was some other songs
Massive
that were
hits
ready to go, but they didn't put it on. They were going to be bonus tracks, but then it came over to when we did Osmosis. That's when Oz was jamming with Steve, wrote My Little Man and some other ones on there. I remember I had to call Steve up, I called Stevie up and I'm like, "Steve, what's the tuning on this sitar?" And I had to get the two. He was like, "Zachy, it's this, that, and the other." I was like, "All right, Stevie, thanks, buddy." So
it was nothing like they were trying to replace you, or
no, Oz was just writing with other people because I was out. You're out doing Smashing Pumpkins. It's just like while Billy's out doing this, I'll work with other people.
Yeah, I'm just trying to understand some of this. There doesn't seem to be good information. I mean, I see the things where it was like. And it sounds like Ozzy kind of half joking, like he was turning my band into Black Label Society, or But
no.
It doesn't sound credible to me. But I'm asking you.
No, but put it this way. I mean, like everyone always asks, I go, my relationship with Ozzy and Mom. I lovingly always refer to her as Mom because she's been like my mother since I've been 19, 20 years old. So. But no, and Oz has been like. I always said I had the two coolest guys growing up between my father, who's a World War II vet, D-Day, Omaha Beach, and Ozzy. So I could always ask them for advice. Oz is like an older brother, you know what I mean? Like he's like 20 years older than me. So, and the way my kids are, our oldest son to our youngest son. So, but it's just like, so I could always ask those two for advice on anything, and they would always just go, come here. I go, yeah. Then they would just poke me in the eye, and I go, why did you do that? And they go, just because.
Yeah, yeah.
So, but anyways, that would be the advice. So I
see.
really didn't learn anything, but but that's what it would be. But the whole thing is, no, my relationship with Oz and Sharon it's just always been to this day. Like when we text them or talk with them or get together, it's just like if they said, Oz was like, Zakk, do me a favor. Can you come over and clean the house and clean the dog run? Me and Sharon had to go do a business meeting. We're having company come over tonight. It's like, Oz, no problem. I would just go do it.
Yeah. It's
Like you would for your
mind,
parents.
it's more like family.
Yeah, without a doubt. So Oz, if he needs me to play on something, I play on it.
But what
I
was
mean?
the professional circumstance of it all? Because, wait, so you were writing hits with them, right?
Yeah. When we did No More Tears and obviously No Rest. But like I think when I started doing, with Black Label, as it just started going along, Oz was just like, well, Zakk's his own guy now. So he was just like.
Did he almost kind of want you to graduate into your own life?
Yeah, it's just like Zakk's out of the nest now. He's just like, I don't want to be the lead singer in Black Label Society. And I don't take offense to that, because if Randy would have went on to keep doing Quiet Riot, he would have been like, I don't want to be the lead singer in Quiet Riot now. Even though Randy's coming back and playing a new riff called I Don't Know.
Is it because he wants complete focus on what he's doing?
Yeah, or just like it is what it is. And if Jake went on and he was doing Badlands and continued doing Badlands and then coming back, he would have said, it's like I'm the lead singer in Badlands now. Even though Jake's coming in with this riff called Bark at the Moon. And it's like, Oz, the minute you sing on it, it's new Ozzy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like I mean, especially with me, I mean, in the Black Label soup, you're always tasting, being that I'm a graduate of Lord Iommi University, as you are, and Jerry Cantrell and all of us. I mean, Kim Thale and Chris, like, we all are disciples of Lord Iommi and his writing.
Totally.
So the whole thing is, it's just, it's going to be in there in the soup somewhere. So. But it's just like when I'm jamming something, whether it's just like soon as Ozzy would sing on, if Ozzy sang on Stillborn, which he did in the chorus, but if Oz sang the whole song, that's a new Ozzy song. If Ozzy sang on The Gallows, the brand new one, that's a new Ozzy song.
Kind of a cool Sabbath-y.
Well, of course, there's Sabbath floating around in there all the time, and there always will be, because that's the flavor that I like. I mean, I'm just saying, but it's just like, but yeah, so. But I think I completely understand what Oz is saying in that regard. He's just like, I don't want to be the lead singer in Quiet Riot or Badlands.
Do they sit you down and say,
Black Label.
We love you, do your thing, and we're here for you? Or is it like you get a call?
No, he
like
did.
Sharon
He sat me down just like we're sitting right now, and he said, Zakk, sit down for a second. Come here. I said, yeah. He poked me in the eye. He goes, I go make me a ham sandwich. And I go light on, and I was like this, I go light on the mustard. Coleman's though, always Coleman's.
Right.
No, but so yeah, but he would be saying the same thing to you. It's just like everything sounds like Smashing Pumpkins now. Yeah. And you're like, Zakk, you would go, listen to this riff. I go, what do you think? And I go, there's a lot of Sabbath floating around in that meal. You know what I mean? And you'd go, I know. And Oz is telling me it sounds like Smashing Pumpkins. I go, well, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And same thing. If Father Cantrell, Jerry was playing a riff, he would go, it sounds. I don't want to be the lead singer in Alice in Chains. And I completely get it, man.
When you left, it was 95, 6, somewhere in there.
Yeah, 96.
So it's a little bit blurry in my mind, because that's when we were touring like crazy. You know how it is. It's like stuff happens and you hear about it, but it's like, it doesn't process the same as if you were sitting at home and watching an MTV News or something, right?
No, I mean, at that point, that's when Joe Holmes, I'm friends with Joe Holmes. Yeah. Joe's an amazing player. And that's when they got Joe to come in, because I was playing with GNR at the time as well, in between all the
I didn't know that.
Osmosis, and then coming back. I remember because Slash, they were talking about, I think Gilby had left the band, and so Axl was like, well, who are we going to get on guitar? And
I didn't even know that part.
I guess Slash just threw around, he's like, well, my name came in the mix or whatever, and Axl goes, I'll reach out to Zakk. I never spoke to Axl before. So, but
How long did that go on for?
I knew Slash when I first joined Ozzy. That's when Guns was blowing up, and then, and I knew Steven, and then obviously I knew Matt from when he was with the Cult, you know, from when
Yeah.
Firewoman and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So because he was good buddies with Randy Castillo, so you know, and once again, everybody kind of knows each other, and we're all friends. So, but Slash, you know, so it's like, well, why don't we ask Zakk if he wants to do it or whatever? And so Axl called me up. He was like, Zakk, you want to get together and jam? I was like, all right, well, yeah, we'll see what happens,
Yeah.
right? So I remember they had a rehearsal joint all set up, and I remember it was me, Matt, Dizzy was throwing down on the
Keyboard, yeah.
keys, and then you had Slash and Duff, and you know, I mean Matt and myself and Axl, and so we were down there jamming and noodling ideas, and then we recorded a couple of riffs, I think like the Rose Petal Garden, that ended up on the first Black Label album. But it was just like we had some riffs laying around, but it's just like nothing was kind of materializing with it, and then it was just like I remember Oz was like, Zakk, are you gonna do this thing with the fellas, or are we doing this thing?
I see. Yeah.
And then I was like, Oz, let me call up and see if I can get an answer from the guys, because I don't know either, because I'm just sitting, you know, like I can't tell you yes or no, because I
Yeah.
don't know what's going on with the guys. So it's just like, you know, it was just kind of going on, and nothing was happening. So I remember Oz was just, you know, getting ready to release the Osmosis album and getting ready to tour, and Oz was just like, Zakk, sit down. Yeah, Oz, come here, a little closer. And so he poked me in the eyes again. He goes, Zakk, make me a ham sandwich. I'm gonna get Joe Holmes to come play for a little while, and then we'll see where it happens from
Sure.
there. But yeah, that's how that's what happened.
Yeah.
And then so nothing, and then I was kind of like, well, Bill, what am I gonna do? Then the Guns N' Roses thing wasn't happening. I'm not playing with the Boss anymore.
Sure.
I'm like, well, I better figure something out.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I just released Book of Shadows, which I loved doing, because when we were doing Osmosis, it was this place called Brews on 34th and Lexington. It was just like the pub had been there from 1908. So I would go after we got done tracking every day. I'd go into Brews and just they had an amazing jukebox in there. I'd just be drinking till like 6 in the morning every night at the bar, just me and you solving the problems of the world, hanging out. And the jukebox, they'd have the Stones in there, Bob Seger, Neil Young, just like all this Eagles, all this amazing, you know, just all acoustic, mellow, amazing stuff. So I'd be listening to that all night long.
Yeah.
And I remember just going back into my room, my acoustic, and just writing. And then, so I had all that stuff, and then that's when I did the Book of Shadows thing after Osmosis.
Right.
Did a short tour behind that, and then like after we got done with that, I was like, well, what am I gonna do? I'm not ready to be James Taylor, like a singer-songwriter.
Right.
Yet. I still want to play heavy stuff. So that pretty much out of, you know, being in the middle of the Atlantic with one oar, I'm like, Bill, do you see any land? You're like, no, but we better start rowing, because we're gonna die out here. No, there are no options.
Yeah.
I never thought to myself, like with Ozzy, with Sabbath, well, I guess the dream is over. It was just like, no, I'm not gonna go back to having some crummy job that I can't stand. So it was just like, we are gonna find land, and that's it, or we're gonna die out here.
You know how this town can be, though. Did you kind of feel that cold wind that blows sometimes when people think, you know, when you're with Ozzy, that's a big gig.
Well, that's the security blanket of having your mom and dad's house, and now you don't have that security
But did
blanket.
you see people change the way they were acting around you? Do you feel that?
No, I mean, if anything, it's, you know, it's like, wow, this is kind of exciting, because we have our own apartment now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
And now,
Yeah. So
me and you were going to start our own little coffee shop,
Yeah.
and we're going to start our own business from being, you know, me and you working at McDonald's, and now we're going to start our own little burger stand.
Yeah. I think what's so cool is, because like I said, it's fuzzy in my mind, but I remember hearing that you'd left, and then at some point that you were starting Black Label. And I think what's so cool is you did it the hard way. You took it to the fans. You built that thing up literally.
Well, I remember taking the merch,
ground up.
printing the merch ourselves, and then taking all the merch orders, and I remember writing a thank you letter, and then putting it in the manila envelopes, and me and you bringing them down to the post office and mailing out these Black Label Smashing Pumpkin T-shirts with thank you letters on them. But so it went from like you said, playing with Ozzy to arenas and stadiums and festivals or whatever, to now me and you were playing in clubs with like
And you
five
got
people in
and
there
you're
that don't
married,
even.
and you're married, and you got kids, so
Yeah,
it's part of the dynamic.
yeah. So what I'm just saying is, and and I always tell all kids, I go, whether somebody's like, you have advice for my son or daughter, because I go, yeah, just play what you
Work.
love, and there are no options. There are no other eggs in your basket. Because if you know you have eggs in your basket, then you're not gonna. If you're out in the middle of the Atlantic and we just got a boat and we got oars, I'm like, Bill, we're either gonna die out here. Do you see any land anywhere? You're like, Zach, I don't see anything. I'm like,
There's no arenas in the middle of the ocean, is what
that's
you're
what I'm
saying.
saying. We better start rowing.
Um,
You know?
so, in your mind's eye, because from my perspective, everything you've touched has been successful. I think it's a testament to your talent.
Well, I'm just saying. I think if anything, just like well, you got it. It's just everything in life is based. When I look at my father, him being an orphan and then went straight to World War II, then I remember his first wife, Marilyn, died. I remember my grandmother and my aunt in Asbury Park. That was from my dad's first wife who died of cancer. So he remarried my mother and had me and my sister.
Okay.
But they were our grandmother and aunt, and that was my dad's first wife, like her mother.
I see.
So he went over there every weekend, changed the light bulbs, cleaned the apartment. He never lost touch with them.
Wow.
And
I get it.
then, well, no, then after my mother dying and my dad, just everything is based for me on strength, toughness, and perseverance.
Yeah.
You just got to have that.
I get it.
You have to.
Yeah. That's
And
what
don't,
I'm trying to convey
always.
to you, brother to brother. I really respect that you took a situation that would, in many ways, throw people off. You went right back at it. You worked, and you built this thing with your own hands. And I just think it's so awesome because most people they just don't have that inner strength to do that.
Well, like I said, I love doing everything that I'm truly, but I thank the good Lord every day for everything I have, and being on this ultimate podcast as well. So no, and the same thing with even with the Ultimate Warrior. The reason why I'd always dug him so much, even when it just because of and all his quotes that he has all the time as well. You just have no belief in what others say about you or anything. It's just everything is just brute force.
Yeah, he lived it.
Yeah, without a doubt. So it's just like, you can have the compassion of Jesus Christ and the brute force of the Ultimate Warrior, Dick Butkus and Genghis Khan, as far as the determination and the work ethic. There is no. You think we're gonna? No. You just do it.
Have you ever heard the story where Warrior asked Vince McMahon for $250,000 or he wasn't going to go through the curtain?
What was it? The SummerSlam or what was it? Yeah.
I heard that story from Sergeant Slaughter. It's an amazing story.
Well, Sergeant Slaughter's really not a big fan of the Warrior. He's the ultimate puke to him. So But
did you ever meet Sergeant Slaughter?
I've never met him.
It's great. Amazing.
No, I'm sure all the guys are great. But we know all the politics that goes on with all that stuff.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother world of insanity.
I think I live it
and
every
then
day
you
in
being
the National Wrestling Alliance.
And you own a wrestling.
Yeah.
And by the way, Bubba Dudley always says amazing things about you.
I love Bubba.
Yeah, without a doubt.
I know. Bubba tells a story the first time he saw me in ECW locker room. Because Just Incredible had brought me in there.
Oh, okay.
When we were talking about locker rooms. Now I'm in the ECW locker room. And Bubba squares me up from across the locker room, and he's thinking, who the hell is this person in my locker room? And he's about ready to come over and kill me. And somebody says, that's this.
It's going to be your future boss.
Yeah, yeah. Who's that? I can't do the Bubba, but.
Yeah, totally.
Last thing. Thank you for indulging me. First of all, because I've seen you play live, and even I was watching some clips in anticipation for an interview. I don't know how you play so aggressively and so clean. It blows my mind. I've never seen anyone with your level of attack and you play flawlessly. I don't get it.
I don't know if it's so flawlessly, but
To
you
me,
can always get better.
I'll put it this way: I wish I could play like you.
Well,
I really
I'm
mean
sure
that.
JD, who was our band, I've known JD since we were
Yeah.
17. He would go, Bill, let's rethink that one. He goes, stick with Smashing Pumpkins.
All right,
So let's just do that.
I'm gonna go to the video tip, and I'm gonna slow it down and see if you missed one.
JD
No,
would
because
go,
like
more
you said,
Smashing
like I
Pumpkins.
play a lot of hammer-ons. I don't know where that came from. Maybe just laziness, but you're very, like you said, you pick every note, and to me, I mean, I watch you play for an hour, and just like, what does he mess up? I don't see it.
No, there's definitely clankers in there, but
Maybe
I
there's a
mean,
lot of delay or something.
yeah.
One thing I thought just in poking around, because I want to know what your future plans are. I mean, obviously you have your band, but have you ever thought doing like the all-star record's not the best, but it's like you get your friends
just
together.
tons of guests and stuff like Traveling Wilburys.
Well, you did the record that Andrew Watt did with Ozzy.
Yeah, no,
you were
with
on that.
yeah.
Tony's on that. I
Eric
thought
Clapton, Jeff Beck was on that
pretty,
thing.
Pretty
Yeah.
good record. There's a lot of cool stuff on there.
Nice, brother.
But I was just wondering from your perspective, because I thought it'd be interesting to hear you. I'm not saying like Carlos Santana, but you did that record. But I think it'd be interesting if there was a record built around your guitar playing, but that showed different modalities of your guitar playing.
No,
Because I saw an interview recently, and it was before I knew I was going to interview you, where you were talking about Joe Pass and people
Pat
you really.
Martino, yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, it would surprise me.
Oh yeah, with Neil Giraldo.
Yeah, I was like, it's like most metal guys don't name check Joe Pass. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that told me as a fellow guitar player, like, oh, this guy's really studying the game. Because a lot of metal guys, they're really one-lane guys, and you know them. They're your friends.
Yeah. I mean, but
nothing wrong with it.
No, I agree. I mean, it's different. It's whatever you're into. It's so funny. Like we were talking about, like, whether you like different music. We just happen to like. I love yacht rock. I love Christopher Cross. I'll listen to everything like that.
Christopher Cross is your secret.
He's amazing. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, actually, Steve, look at there. Luke's out with him right now. Right?
Yeah.
Christopher Cross and Toto, right? So, no, but it's just I love that. Like all the new wave essentials, whether it's Howard Jones and Gary Newman.
Did you ever see
and
Howard Jones when he had a mime?
No, I never saw that.
Check that clip out.
Is
He's
it pretty-
on American Bandstand, I think.
Oh wow.
It's when he's blowing up.
Okay.
And there's that song, "What is Love?"
Yeah, totally. Which is a huge hit.
So Dick Clark's interviewing him, and he goes, "So who's the other fella?" And he's like, "Well, it gets a little boring with me just playing keyboards and singing, so I brought this mime." And he literally has a mime when he's singing the fucking song, dude.
That is so great.
You wanna put some zip in your coffee? I mean, that is some other shit.
I'll have to check that out.
See.
But
I got my new wave knowledge.
Yeah, without a doubt. But I mean, it's just like I love all of it. So I mean, it's just like. But I remember reading this one quote with Johnny Winter, and they said, "Well, Johnny, have you ever listened to it?" He goes, "No." He goes, "The only." Like I tell younger kids, like Zakk, you got any advice for my son or my daughter?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, whatever music it is that moves you, because I go, if it moves you, then that's
good music,
and you can feel it, then that's what you should be doing.
I just would like to hear you. I love your playing. I listen to you play all day, but it would be interesting to hear you put into different contexts.
Oh yeah, I dig what you're saying, like different types of things. But I mean, it's just like, but it is true. I mean, like talking about.
Like you with Jerry Cantrell would be amazing.
I do, yeah.
Like Jerry, great writer.
Yeah, Jerry's amazing.
You know how to write. Like you two together, that'd be cool. You with Chino Moreno of Deftones. You know what I mean?
I dig it.
Chino's got such a cool voice. It'd be
Without a
interesting
doubt.
to hear.
Yeah, with all different, like you said, Traveling Wilburys are doing, or yourself. Get yourself in this thing,
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have to put this thing together.
There you go. If we ruled the world.
Yes.
That's a great place.
Without a
Thank
doubt.
you, Zakk.
All right, man.
Great talk.
Appreciate it, Brother Bill. Thank you very much, buddy.